Welcome to Super Geeks episode. We don't know because we stopped numbering them a long time ago. So,
what is the latest one?
The latest one, technically for me on my end, because I'm on the East Coast, it's May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Actually, that's true on my end. It really is. So, with me today, as always, is myself. I'm George, your host. How you doing, George? I'm doing all right. How are you doing? Not too bad. Also, on the left of me, holding up his Vulcan sort of half-ass fudgesicle way. Come in. All right, anyways, that's Shawn. Shawn, how are you doing?
Oh, may the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.
And also with you.
Yeah. On the bottom left, we got...
Lift up our hearts.
On the bottom left is Raul. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm great.
Hold up your 4. Yeah, that works. You do it any way you want. Because Star Wars doesn't have Vulcan, so we're good. And to the right of him, Carlos. How you doing?
Ready for action.
Where's your 4? And that works too. You can do it any way you numerically want to. Then we have Sun Sail. Sun.
I know you can't see it, but I'm holding up all 4 of my breasts.
I'm taking your word for it because.
That's
the visual.
Not what I expected to hear tonight.
That visual was amazing.
Sometimes you got to leave some stuff to the imagination.
It wasn't just the breasts; it was the holding up of them that went in my mind.
All 4.
All 4.
May the 4 breasts be with you.
You know what? Since it became noticeable that it is the May the 4th, let's briefly, in more memorandum, whatever the word is, Peter Mayhew. That's
okay. That was yeah.
You know what? Comedy
that was a little uncalled for.
In memoriam.
In memoriam. That's the word. Let's give a little moment and not of silence because that'll.
I will say this. I want to. As far as Peter Mayhew is concerned, Peter Mayhew was a regular on the Star Trek convention circuit as well. Yeah. And why not? The crossover is so much, and of course, he was a popular attraction, much the same way Richard Hatch was a popular attraction at Trek conventions, although never having appeared in official Star Trek for years and years. Absolute gentleman, wonderful. Took time with all the fans. He was, in fact, I think the first time I saw him, he had actually just gotten his U.S. citizenship like a week earlier. It was like crazy, but yeah, he was a true gentleman, and he will be missed without question.
I wonder if he's going to be laid to rest with his cane, his special cane.
Oh yeah, he was always disabled, but he lived a pretty good life. He was a gentle giant, kind of like Andre. Yeah. He was anybody with his exceptional size and health issues, like Andre, like. Heart issues are usually something. Considering all things considered, he lived a pretty long life. So good on him. His life was very fulfilled with people that loved him.
Right.
Always remember him, just like all the other people that have passed before him, like Carrie Fisher. And his legacy will continue. You got his replacement, which is nothing. No one will ever take away.
His successor, not his replacement.
His successor. Yes, thank you. Good wording.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yep.
But we will always remember him. I remember I saw Star Wars: The New Hope. Well, they call it A New Hope now, but back then it was just Star Wars.
We know that.
And I know we all know it, but there's a lot of new bloods out there. And I remember
vampires.
Kind of
new blood.
It is sort of like that. It's like a generational blood thing, like in Vampire the Masquerade. And so, but when I remember lining up in Toys R Us back when Toys R Us existed, in 1977. Maybe no, it was Riches. It wasn't Toys R Us. They didn't even exist yet. I don't think. Anyways,
it wasn't until at least a year ago that Toys R Us didn't exist.
No, I know. Well, I know they got liquidated. I watched a thing on it earlier. But the point is that I remember lining up at it was Riches, my local store in the area, and I remember just got done starting Star Wars. at 1977. I was 7 years old. My brother saw it right after. They did a double feature, by the way. I had to watch Mad Max at the drive-thru first. My brother and I were ducking behind the seats. My parents were like, "Oh, look at these people, Gibson's blowing people's heads off." My brother and I are like ducking behind the seats, going, "Oh my god!" And then, is it over yet? And then when it's over, finally we could watch Star Wars, and it was awesome. Carlos, you ever been to Kittery, Maine? You've been through a lot of Maine, right?
Of course.
That's where the drive-thru used to be, behind the trading post. And that's
I went to the Toys R Us in Portland.
Portland or Portsmouth? 'Cause they had one in Portland. Okay.
By the way,
Anyway,
George,
moving on.
George, I wanted you about the New Hope thing. Yeah, we call the New Hope now, but I want to tell you something. Most people just refer to it as Star Wars. My kids, they just call it Star Wars, but it's not a matter of like, it's like how we call Star Trek, the original series now, we call it TOS. It's the same thing. It's just a matter to distinguish it from the others
original,
that follow.
Yeah.
Right. It's that
No,
we still recognize it as the Star Wars.
Well, what I was going to say was that when I was in line, I remember we went through line and there was only 2 action figures that my brother and I wanted after we got done with that movie. And it was Darth Vader. And he had that little thing when you pull the lever up on the arm.
It split up the arm.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And the other
had
one,
a slot in the arm.
And
Came
Chewbacca.
out a little hole in his hand. Yep.
And then there's always that legacy of things like
those are my first 2 figures too. Those are my first 2 figures. No shit.
The mask.
That's crazy.
She went viral.
Oh, what about Chewbacca Mom? What?
Chewbacca Mom, remember that?
I know about it, but what's it have to do with the action
I'm just bringing up the fact that Chewie has a legacy.
God, it's like your Tourette's guy sometimes. Chewbacca Mom!
No, I'm going back and forth because I'm trying to talk about Chewbacca, Peter Mayhew.
I got it.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah, so.
Looks like tit dirt, Chewbacca Mom.
Word to your bandolier, Chewie, and he went out like a badass. So he left a great legacy. So thank you, Peter Mayhew, for what you brought. Even though you didn't speak English words, you like the Night King.
Well, I understood him perfectly.
Me too. I know. I can
you
speak
spoke
to
Wookiee?
him fluently.
Oh,
We all did. Who didn't?
Yeah, I guess we did. I wish they kept the cutscene that was supposed to be in The Force Awakens where they ripped the guy's arms off. But anyways, you don't know about that?
I do, but I think I don't. I think I'm.
You know the guy that had Rey in servitude, always trying to get money for food. In the original cutscene, Chewie actually they wanted to go back to carefully. If you a Wookiee doesn't like to lose, he'll rip your arms off. He actually ripped his arms off. That dude, the one that was played by
Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg. Yes, he ripped his arms off in the cut version. Anyways, yeah, it was supposed to harken back to.
So the tributes have been outstandingly feelsy.
The what?
With having R2D2 and Leia and then Chewie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a on the other side kind of tribute.
Yeah, it was kind of like I got a Calvin and Hobbes vibe from some of those images that people have been sharing on the Super Geeks group. Like saying goodbye. Well, anyways, so that was a great tribute. So on to our first subject. I think we've all seen it, except for maybe Raul. But Raul, don't worry, we'll give you plenty to talk about. The Orville. We're a little late because we've been preoccupied with our Discovery show and then also doing Game of Thrones, and it's hard to do 3 shows. So the Orville did finish up its season 2 finale, and we're still waiting to see whether it's going to be renewed for season 3. But I'm going to start with Shawn. So, Shawn, what did you think of did we talk about the one before that? Where young Kelly?
We have not talked about we didn't talk about the last 3
it was since Dolly Parton, right? The Dolly Parton.
We didn't even talk about that. I don't think we.
All right, let's go. We'll say so. We have 3 episodes to talk about in a crunch.
Yeah, and I think
I didn't see that third to last. I just saw the 2.
Oh, the third last really good. That was the one with the.
That was the best one.
With the Romulan. Yeah, it was the best one of those 3, no question.
Yeah,
the 5 episode
costumes.
All right.
Yep.
So I only had 2 hours free today. Okay.
All right. It's good enough. Well, Shawn.
Well, okay. Let's talk about. I want to talk about Orville in general. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
I felt, I think I made my feelings clear about the Orville. My problem with the Orville is that they're direct script copying. I don't mind copying tropes. I don't mind the copying of the spirit of Next Gen and things like that. My problem has been direct script copying. I counted 4 episodes this season that were unique and original. Okay, now mind you, it's not that the other episodes were necessarily bad, or any of them. I mean, there are quite a few stinkers, but there were only truly 4 original episodes this season, and the 4 ones that were original were all very, very good. And they showed to me the show has a great promise to stand on its own if it ever wants to. And that's what kind of disappointed me about the last 2 episodes, because the last 2 episodes, oh my God, the Tomorrow, which is the name of the second to last episode, the first part of the 2-parter. It is a direct scene for scene copy of the
Timeless.
next. No, not Timeless.
The Tom Riker.
George.
No. 1,000 times no.
So
That one sounded like Raul.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be using this as appropriate tonight. Okay, so no, the Tomorrow was the direct ripoff of Second Chances. With the transporter duplicate of Thomas Riker. Okay, so that is the only difference was it was time travel and not a transporter exit. But everything else was exactly the same, right down to trying to rekindle the relationship with Ed the same way Riker number 2 was trying to rekindle the relationship with Deanna. I mean, it was all exactly the same. The same way that the 2 different versions were nitpicking at each other because, you know, the young Kelly's idea of how to do things was vastly different because she didn't have 7 years experience under her belt, and it was just note for note exactly the same thing. And that's what pulls me out of these episodes. And this is what I hear. It's like Orville, you have so much potential to be so good. Why do you do things like this? Especially considering the episode that preceded it, which was a great episode about the planet full of. What's the species name? Mocklin. The planet of female Mocklins.
That's why I didn't watch it.
The Dolly Parton. It was
like, oh God, another.
Right. I get the Carlos. I get that, and I totally agree. But they actually they
just
worked
not
it well.
that interesting.
I get it. But, well, here's that episode revolves around the whole subplot of the Mocklins being, with the no females. It revolves all around that. There is a sanctuary planet. I think it's called Sanctuary. There's a sanctuary planet of female Mocklins is what it comes down to.
That was the name of the episode too.
That's what
No.
Yes, I know it was George. I just said it.
Oh, you said sanctuary planet. I didn't hear you say episode name.
I did. I read after it. Okay.
Beginning.
Okay, so that episode was well done.
They built an underground railroad of female Mocklins.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. And it was well done. There's some goofy shit in it. Like I couldn't figure out how the hell do you get does Ed get the council to all agree to come together at once to discuss this issue? That seemed a little far-fetched. But other than that, the episode was so well done. It's like, like I've said, and Son has picked on me before, the episode was so well done that I was willing to overlook little things like that. So I enjoyed it. And that's when they kicked me in the nuts with Tomorrow. And they just pissed me off to no end. Now, mind you, the episode that followed that was, and I forget the name of that episode, but it was a direct ripoff of Timeless, is what it was, of the Voyager 100th episode, where they go back and it even opened up on an ice planet, the same way Timeless did, with Harry Kim and Chakotay going on this ice planet to find the Voyager so they can go.
And later in the
time.
episode, where do we see them hiding the ship? Under ice.
Under ice, exactly. Right, exactly.
And so, question.
It was, and that's what was disappointing. The second one wasn't nearly as bad of a ripoff as Tomorrow was, but it was still quite noticeable. And it's like, and it was still enjoyable. But it's like, look, they got to stop doing this. They're a better show than this. And like I said, those 4 episodes this year that I give them complete credit for prove to me they can really be a good show. But what I fear now is that they have the producers have fucked this up so badly. We're not going to find out because there is going to be no season 3, and that's what I think is disappointing. because it has a lot of potential.
Son, I know. I'm going to let you talk next before I let Carlos talk, only because I'm pretty sure that you've seen all this, right? We talked about this in private, so I want to get your views on what Shawn's just said. What do you think?
Okay, so remember how you were talking about the new blood thing for the other? Oh, this is exactly this, but for the Orville. We live in an age where the new young kids of the demographic that all the networks are going for barely even know that Star Trek: The Next Generation exists. Barely know that Voyager exists. So there's nothing for them to compare it to because they've not seen it. And here you have a whole bunch of people who have it complaining nonstop. It's a direct ripoff. It's a direct copy. It's a direct script copy.
You are right.
Okay? But there is a demographic who has never seen that stuff, and they absolutely love the Orville.
But here's the problem.
Hold on, Shawn. Are you done?
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with that, though. The problem with that is that demographic does not give a shit about 1990s style, Rick Berman, Brannon Braga style of Star Trek.
That's
and
actually
that's what
true.
that shit knows.
I can counter that argument.
How can a .6 in the ratings counter that argument?
Hold on. I'm on a couple of groups
on the
where
49.
I thought the same thing. I thought what you just said, Shawn. But and what Son just said. But then there's a couple of Orville groups I'm on, and then there's an Enterprise group and another group, and they actually, a lot of them say, "Oh, it was a beautiful episode," and then when somebody says, "But it was like a complete rip," and most of them do say, "But I watched that," so it's kind of 50-50. You're right. There's a lot of new blood that don't know why people look at it as a ripoff. They have nothing to compare it to, like these guys.
Right.
But there's
I look at it as a catch-22 in this.
Yeah.
You have people. You have a segment of the audience. They're targeting 18-49-year-olds. That's what they do always at network television. That's what advertisers want. Okay. You have that section of the audience that has not seen the Next Generation era Trek. The problem with that segment of the audience is that they have turned from that style of storytelling. They turned from it 20 years ago. And that's at best we'll say since the end of Enterprise. So it's a catch-22. It's like, okay, they haven't seen it, but they don't like the style of storytelling. Now, it's like, as opposed to us, people like myself in our generation, we have seen it and we're receptive to that style of storytelling.
That's
I mean,
fair.
I don't go out of my way to watch old shows that are done like Next Gen, but I can enjoy this even though I know it's beat for beat similar in pacing and everything to a Next Gen app. I'm okay with that. It's just what kills me is the script copying. I mean, look, again, I don't mind sci-fi themes being reused because every sci-fi movie and show does that. Okay, I mean, there's very few unique offerings out there anymore. I'm just of the mindset of let's not direct script copy. But like again, no. I mean, I think. Let me ask you a question, Son and George and Raul and Carlos. Of the episodes you've seen this season, what was your favorite episode? I'd like to.
Independent ones that don't rip the fuck out of.
No. If you had to pick one episode this season, what was your favorite episode?
Oh, that's easy. That's the Dolly Parton episode that Carlos hasn't seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Okay,
That's the best one of all the both.
Son?
Go ahead.
I actually enjoyed the season finale.
Okay,
We'll talk about
Raul?
I haven't seen too many. I've only seen the first 3.
Okay, all right. Well, I will tell you that my favorite episode of this season was the one where Gordon gets the cell phone. That was my favorite episode also.
Oh, that was a pretty good. I did see that one.
Yeah.
I did like that one.
It's funny because it's one of those episodes that of TV where it's like, I talk about a lot of Star Trek, especially in the 90s.
But even that was basically a Barkley ripoff.
So, it's more of a minuet a little bit.
See, look. Carlos points out something, and now Shawn is going, but I've been doing this the whole fucking season.
No, you have been.
Wait, Shawn. Before we go on to talk about this exposition thing,
I don't mind that. It wasn't a copy of a story, though.
I have a hole to pick in that particular. I have a hole to pick in that particular episode.
Okay.
Hold on,
Who's
before you do, let's hear
Okay.
Carlos's opinion of the finale and what he saw. Because
Okay.
he didn't see the Dolly Parton, but he saw the last two. So, Carlos,
Okay.
what do you think?
Well, I mean, I liked the season finale, both parts. I liked the first part better than the second part.
Yes.
The second part felt a little rushed, I guess. Like all of a sudden, boom, the whole gang's back together, and I understand how she
Talk
did
closer to your mic. It's a little.
that, but
Right. It's a
still,
little soft.
story-wise.
Yeah. Carlos, go closer to your.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
So my problem with the Orville is pretty much the same as Shawn's. With regards to the demographics, though, and this is important, the demographics for the Orville, if you split them up between 18 to 34, 18 to 49, and 25 to 54, the largest chunk of that audience is the 25 to 54 chunk. And that tells you a lot, and it tells you that these newbies are a very small part of this show's audience. So I don't think it's not a draw for them. I mean, there's some who are watching it. I think that the demographic profile is 0.3 for 18 to 34, 0.6 for 18 to 49. So
Right.
twice as many 18 to 49 as 18 to 34, and 0.9 for 25 to 54. So that's 3 times the size of the younger demographic. So so it's not a we're doing this new for the kids going on. This is a we miss the 90s, so let's recreate Star Trek. And
Right.
the problem with it is I won't repeat what Shawn said because I think he put it very well, but basically they're better than this, and I don't know why they aren't doing better than this.
Carlos, before we move on to anybody else's feedback on that, based on your learned knowledge of as far as looking at the numbers as a reporter, what do you give the Orville's chance of a renewal? Because there's been no announcement ever since the Fox takeover by Disney. I mean, they're the only one of the only ones left to be announced for renewal. Is it pretty much looking bad, or what do you think?
I think it's the term they use is on the bubble.
Right.
On the bubble? Okay.
And I think what that means is that the ratings by themselves are not enough to justify it. So
Right.
what Fox has to do then is they've got to look at a lot of different factors. And there are a lot of different ones. When
Right.
you're on the bubble, there's a lot of different ones to calculate. And some of them are about things like how much does it cost to produce? How much revenue is it bringing in?
Makes sense.
How is it doing in its time slot?
Yeah. Live +3, live +7, things like that.
And also issues like, are there other shows that are getting the same ratings but only cost half as much to make?
Right.
Those kinds of things all come into the mix when they're trying to
And how much pull Seth has behind the scenes, because
I'm sure that's part of it.
Right.
But
Because there's value in the Seth MacFarlane brand.
Exactly.
So
Oh, yeah,
that's another consideration, of course, as well. I agree.
Yep. Now, Raul, I know you haven't watched the Orville recently, but based on what you just heard us say, you know that that the people watching and loving the Orville are sort of reliving, like Carlos said, the 90s. Do you think that Disney, when they acquired Fox in this acquisition, you're an economist, so if you look at it from that point of view, do you
Economist.
whatever the wording is, after a
Fine.
couple of beers, the words kind of,
That's the fireball talking.
that's the fireball talking, mateys. Bad dad joke. So that's behind the scenes joke. So do you think, Raul, that there's a chance that they're holding off on announcing Orville's renewal based on final numbers, or is negotiations?
I think they already have a plan for the Orville. Disney doesn't leave anything to chance. Whether the promises made will be fulfilled by Disney to Seth MacFarlane's leadership team, that is up to Disney to determine. I think that Disney already had a plan for most of the major properties, even the smaller properties, which Orville would be considered a smaller property compared to some of the other things.
Yeah.
It's a very expensive one.
Yeah.
That's the problem. The expense will not cover the overhead, is my opinion.
Well,
I'd like to.
on the other side, though, you have to remember that the Orville is one of the shows that got that really big California
Tax credit.
tax incentive.
That's true. That's
And
true.
so that offsets
Wait, where did they get it?
That's offset.
in California where it shoots.
Oh yeah.
You have to compete. It's a competitive process.
Yeah.
There for which shows get this credit, and the Orville got it. So that reduces the cost by a significant amount. So that is part of the mix, because again, its numbers by itself aren't that great. They're not terrible, but they're not great.
They actually got lower and lower as the season went on.
Yeah,
That's very typical of the Star Trek, though. Star Trek's numbers start strong and they fall over the season.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that is that early with Trek early in the 90s, they kind of remained strong throughout the seasons. It's the later seasons where that happened. The problem is we're in season 2 with this. Now, there's another side to this as well, another factor involved here, and that is the fact, as Carlos predicted, and I can't believe we didn't bring this up, is that Fox is looking to sell, Comcast is looking to sell their shares in Hulu to Disney, and that's
they were the competitors for Fox.
Yeah, but you're right. And here's what this comes down. Here's why this is a game changer.
You know, Fox has always been a big part of Hulu. They're part owner.
Right, they're network competitors, but they're not competitors on Hulu. Right. Where this could be a game changer, this could be part of the strategy for Disney in determining whether or not Orville is removed. Because if they get that stake, they effectively they run Hulu. Okay, they effectively run Hulu at this point. This is an additional streaming service for them. They won't put the Orville on the Disney streaming channel, but they sure as hell might put it on Hulu. I mean, and
you mean as a Hulu exclusive?
Exactly, and
it's possible. Yes,
it doesn't.
It already airs on Hulu.
Right, but it being a Hulu exclusive instead of obviously a network. And now the thing about it is, look, there's a lot of sunk costs already taken care of. It's not like they've got to rebuild all these sets. You know?
Right.
There's sunk costs in this already for them. I think that's a factor that may be holding back the decision for the time being, because we could find out tomorrow morning the deal is set in that Hulu has Comcast has sold their stake in Hulu to Disney, and then by Monday we get into nothing. You never know. That's how fast.
We'll know within a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say that the purchase of Fox gave Disney more ammo to use in its streaming war against the other big competitors.
Oh yeah, Netflix.
Everybody.
Because what Disney was trying to do is solidify its sci-fi roots. And getting another show, another brand under its wing is definitely in their wheelhouse.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
I think that's a factor to be considered, no doubt.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're considering it.
Let me just offer my opinion about because I let everybody else give theirs. My opinion is this. Now I know Carlos hasn't seen the Dolly Parton episode. Carlos, I highly recommend you go back and watch it. That is the standalone. That is the.
I'll definitely watch it.
Okay.
I only had 2 hours today, so.
But
also, it's got Tony Todd, so
it does.
Oh,
as a Mucklin.
Well,
It's great.
Of
But
course
anyways,
he's a Mucklin. Of course he's a
He's a
Mucklin.
Mucklin. Yeah. But and by the way, playing 9 to 5 during a battle scene.
That was epic.
That
was better. I will say this.
Sense too.
It was better than playing Sabotage during that.
If you're gonna use pop, if you use pop culture references, it worked to the T.
I you know how much I hated that battle scene during their Best of the Both Worlds ripoff. I loved the battle scene.
It just worked.
It was amazing, and the music. And the playing 9 to 5 for
that was weird. We both just
brilliant.
Go ahead at the same. What's her face? The replacement for Alira Point 2, whatever her name is. I forget. I don't like her. Tala. Yeah, Tala.
The one I like more.
Yeah. Okay.
I actually do like her, but I love the fact that Talara number 1 showed up in
Alara number 1.
Alara, whatever. I combined them into
I know.
one.
No, that does work.
But it was
Talara.
cool that she showed up in the season finale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Albeit in a
You
weird way.
turned her into Tuvix. Oh my god!
Another thing they're stealing from Star Trek.
Wow.
That was me, wasn't it?
Anyway,
That was you.
it was kind of like,
That was all me.
she's in command for that episode. Well, and for no reason, Kelly goes down. Anyways, she goes down to fight, like just like all the tropes. Oh, the first officer has to go out and get in a shoot. Like, why? You could have sent troops down. No, Kelly has to go down just because.
In Discovery, the only 2 people that could diffuse that photon torpedo.
No, it's more like they went down with rifles and said, "Let's just shoot everybody." I mean,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
No, that was a
what it
big
boiled down to.
hole for Discovery.
Yeah, I mean,
Carlos, but it boiled
that's a
down
trope.
to
I don't care.
not to have an excuse for Adrian Pileski to go down with a rifle and say,
You know what though?
"Negotiations, you don't agree."
I loved her performance.
Yeah, but still,
I thought the way she was very convincing as 2
when
separate
she shot
versions.
everybody. Yeah,
Let him finish.
She's a wonderful actress. I've been a big fan of hers since Friday Night Lights.
me too.
And so
Wonderful show.
it's one of the things, frankly, that has kept me watching the Orville as much as I have, is because I really do like her, and I like what's her name, Penny, who plays the doctor.
Marshall.
Penny Terrell
No,
Johnson.
no.
Yeah, she's
Penny
also-
Marshall.
I'm thinking of Laverne. I'm sorry.
Marshall.
I know. I'm thinking of Laverne. I'm sorry. Bad.
Anyway,
Penny.
so
Whatever.
No.
It sounds like a cow.
That's the point. I mean,
I think he just called you fat.
Okay, so I wanted to. Okay, so 2 points I had. The cell
Johnson.
phone.
Benny Johnson. Sorry.
The cell phone episode. I have a huge nitpick with that episode.
Your number
Yeah.
wasn't on there. What's going on?
So, like, our pilot has created a fully integrated holodeck thing out of the cell phone.
Right.
It extrapolated the data to recreate an.
Why
Yeah.
did nobody go tell Tim Russ what the pilot had just done?
Why would Tim Russ
Why would
care?
they?
He was in the
Because-
episode.
Because the whole point is about learning about this girl's past
Yeah.
from the phone.
From private though, so he could,
And he's literally created an entire recreation of her life using data from the phone on the ship.
I
And
hold
then
on.
he deletes it all at the end of the episode.
I have a theory about this. I think we all know why he created that simulation.
Yeah.
Okay? And okay, so
I can
yeah.
sum it up in May the 4th words. Brown.
I can sum up in 2 signals of the hand. Never mind.
Kyle's got it. Brown chicken, brown cow. That is-
I mean, son. Honestly, they were being honest. That's pretty much.
I mean, look. Here's the thing. If you're gonna go out and buy yourself a real doll, are you gonna tell people about it? I don't think you're gonna do that.
But he
So-
did do that. He exactly did that.
No,
He brought the entire command staff into his fantasy.
yeah, but
with.
not.
That was for game night.
right. That the
Listen,
intentions
this goes
had
back to a
changed.
post that somebody made on an Orville group where they go, "Is everybody on the Orville an alcoholic?" And everybody's like, "Functional," but yeah.
I did notice that too.
It wasn't like
Yeah.
they were doing it for professional. They're like,
He has a problem.
they
or
all
she
have
did.
problems, to be honest with you. But anyway.
Yeah, but alcoholism was hers because it was like all the red flags. Like if you're at all attuned
Yeah.
to what you should
yeah,
be,
yeah, that's
people
true.
have drinking problems.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. That was all over the place. And
Yep.
Oh, but and anyways, I was gonna. No, this was cigarette smoking, not something else. Anyways,
Okay, so that was that. The finale to me felt like, as much as everybody goes, "Oh, it was timeless," I go, I look at that episode and I go, this was them trying to do their Mirror Universe episode, their What If.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a good
Sorta,
call on
Because
that.
they don't have transporters to have a transporter accident.
Yeah,
for a Mirror
yeah,
Universe.
okay,
that,
so they
if
ripped
they get
up-
a season
they ripped up
3, the
two
Mirror
episodes,
Universe is
okay.
coming next. You know that. So
You know,
Wait a
the
minute,
one
didn't
race
they go into a mirror universe in the last season, like at the
No.
very end?
No. They were dragged into the future.
No, they were dragged into. I'm telling you, there was an they were dragged into some kind of alternate universe.
But which they
of
fixed.
last season.
Let me check.
They-
Let me
they-
check my TNG
they were-
episode guide, and I'll be able. to...
They were dragged into a dimension of two-dimensional.
Okay, that's what.
Oh yeah,
was?
I
Yeah,
actually
okay.
saw that episode.
Right. It was like an episode of the animated series. It was fun.
Oh
for
my
the
God!
kids.
All right,
Yeah.
let's try to move on a little bit because I think we all agree. Okay, so let me ask
Are we Orville'd out?
Well, we can. Yeah, I mean, look, I give you a rate. If you want to give a rating on, you want to do ratings on?
Wait,
this
wait. Let's do a
story?
rating
for the season.
since we don't know if the entire show is done or not.
No,
let's rate both seasons as one combined effort because this could end up becoming Firefly.
Oh shit, man! I'd rather
It's
get.
not
I
ever
rather.
going to be Firefly.
What?
It's not that
Cult
good.
status. Oh, you'd be surprised.
No,
I
dude,
know
not even
Firefly.
close.
So
Yeah,
it's
it's
never
never
going to be just this
Firefly.
season.
It's never going to be Firefly
Orville is
because
no
they
Firefly.
All right.
they actually aired Orville in the proper order.
Okay.
So it's never going to be
Good
Firefly.
call.
All right. Let's
No,
go
actually,
by-
they didn't.
Okay, so if we're going to go by seasons,
Let's do season 2. Let's talk about
season
season 2.
2, I'm going to
that's
give
most
it
relevant.
a 7. Good effort, but it could be better. What about you, Shawn?
I'm exactly where you are. Yeah, I'm at a 7, and what's getting me to the 7 are those 4 really standout episodes for me.
And do the individual episodes like the Dolly Parton one that Carlos hasn't seen, and skip the whole constantly like ripping off the timeless and the whatever episodes. And
I got a sense that they're trying to, and that's why I say I hope they
differentiate.
get a third. I hope they get a 3rd season. I really do hope they get a 3rd season because I have hope for what it can be. And if they don't do it by season 3,
I'm
then
okay either way.
I'm kind of all right. Moving on,
Yeah. Carlos, what about you?
I'm not going to go as high. I'm going to say 6.5.
Okay.
Now, granted, I haven't seen that one episode, and maybe that would.
It may or may not shift your opinion, but you know.
But overall,
It's
I
fun.
feel like the Orville is just a huge wasted opportunity.
I'm not going to lie about that. You're right.
They certainly have the talent. They have good characters. They have nice sets. If they're 90s looking, but so I don't mind that so much. But I just think that they're their own worst enemy, frankly.
Yeah, I agree.
And the demographics, I think, bear this out. That by almost intentionally pandering to older Star Trek fans, they have made it hard to win, the numbers that they need in the younger demographics, and that is hurting them.
We'll see what happens.
So yeah, we will see what happens. I'll admit that there's a part of me that's like, hey, it's a fairly decent science fiction show. I want decent science fiction on regular broadcast networks in addition to the more niche networks. So I support them from that perspective, but at the
See, my
same
point-
time let me
Let him finish. George.
That's why I stopped.
there's another aspect to this that I will admit is a bias I have, and so I'm just going to put it out there, which is it just rubs me the wrong way, the way people who hate Discovery hold this show up as if it's some paragon of, well, anything, It's not
Roddenberry's vision.
It's not a paragon of Star Trek. It's not a paragon of Roddenberry's vision. It's not a paragon of everything. It's a fairly decent science fiction show, but it is not the savior of Trek. And so part of me is like, in your face, let them get it canceled, and now, quit your whining.
Yeah.
But I admit that is a bias.
That's
when I look at it from that particular perspective, because I don't want to fall into the whole Discovery versus Orville trap, because it's a false dichotomy.
We should all love everything. And son, what do you think?
I definitely give this second season an 8.5. But then again,
whoa, son!
But then again, I'm just I'm a cynic, right?
Yeah, but that's the opposite of cynic.
yeah. That's what she's. I think that was
Optimist.
sarcasm. I
It's
think
not
that's
bad.
sarcasm on Sun's part.
No, I don't think it is actually.
But see, here's the thing. I am in this weird position of not hating the Orville for being a direct copy of this, that, or the other.
It's
I
not
can
so
see,
bad.
I can see it for sure. I can see where you guys are coming from because I've watched all that stuff of Trek. At the same time, I'm going, it's nice for what it is. I enjoy
Yeah, I
it
agree.
for what it is.
I agree.
I do too.
agree.
I do too.
I
but think it's
don't let Star Trek color my everything of something that comes after Star Trek, and that's what I feel a lot of people are doing.
Absolutely right.
If it had been directly copying Quantum Leap, I'd be saying the same thing. I mean, look, I'm a fan of SG-1, and but I could have easily been turned the other way because of how much that show rips off Star Trek. But it's to me, it's an issue of
do it as an homage, and it's clear that it's an homage.
Yeah, but
you can only homage so much before it gets.
Yeah, and it's a different format. But my thing is that I would have the same issue whether it was directly copying Star Trek or directly copying another show. And but again, it's not a deal breaker for me, but it does present problems for it. Is what it comes down to.
I understand. You're not the only one that does that, Shawn, for the Orville. You're definitely not the only one that does it. You're just the one that's right next to me that I can punch.
All right, let's change subjects.
There are a lot of people who have the exact same complaint as you, and it winds up coloring the view of the people who actually enjoy Orville, because here's this person who seems like an old codger going, back in my day, we already had this.
Son, do you want to hear something funny? I've gotten shit from Discovery fans because I was critical of season 1, even though I enjoyed it.
I know I'm one of them who.
I know.
Like we're in the same. I'm in this weird.
But I've been called a Discovery hater and everything else. It's like,
well, I've been called you that, but
I guess it's like I recognize the season 1 had issues, is what it comes down to. So that's it.
No, I see. We're in that same boat. I just find it extremely weird that as much as we've seen this back and forth that Carlos has mentioned of people who hate Discovery wind up holding up Orville, and people who hate Orville usually wind up holding up Discovery, and there's this like fan war going on back and forth, and here I am in the middle, liking both and enjoying the hell out of both.
I like them both too. It's just I don't
for different reasons.
I don't like the culture that has grown around.
Yes, I agree with that.
It's like in your science class and you get the culture growing out, and it's going.
It's very much like that. Actually.
Yeah.
So let's move on.
It's also infectious too. So.
Yeah, and let's move on a little bit. So,
did we get Raul's?
Raul, do you get a vote?
Yes, I did actually.
I get no vote.
That's why I want to move on a little bit, because I have a subject he can actually jump into.
Let's do it, man.
Off of this one.
All right.
Which is that Nickelodeon is going to get a CGI animated Star Trek show that they announced, which is about a group of kids, teenagers, that get a starship and they go out and do whatever.
It's Star Trek, Star Wars Rebels.
Star Dream Tech.
Well,
I mean, the concept sounds like that episode Valiant, but on steroids, or except for PG.
Well, except they aren't cadets.
Except they're not cadets. They're civilians.
They're just joyriders. Okay.
They're just joyriders that just hop on and they go, we found a vagrant. We don't know the exact details, but what they
a derelict ship.
It's a derelict ship.
And they're going, ee, and they just sort of, I don't know. I mean, let's start with Raul. The concept. You hear about this?
Concept is very open. It's accessible to
a
many
bunch
writers.
of kids. Like, it could be any of us. A new generation of fans.
George, can you hear him? Because he was talking after you told him to after you asked his opinion.
Get out the button.
Anyways.
No, I just wanted, because it seemed like you couldn't hear him.
No, I heard him. I was just trying to feed him. I'm feeding him. Like, Raul, open your mouth.
Well, the thing is...
Wow. The phrasing, George. Phrasing.
Jonathan Fraser. Anyways.
The concept is very open. It's very accessible to all sorts of creators. I think it's going to be a good thing to attract Hollywood's young talent to Star Trek's brand. And especially in this challenge, where it's aimed more towards younger people to compete with their programming, which is a completely different animal than what Star Trek is used to, you're going to have to allow a maximum amount of freedom on the creator's part in your universe. Not yours, but the property.
Well, yeah.
What do you think, Carlos?
So, I agree with Raul. I think there's some bigger issues at play here that are important to point out, and I think they have to do with demographics. I think that the target audience, obviously, which is kids, they are not going to watch this show because it is Star Trek.
Right.
It being Star Trek will be an incidental benefit. They're going to watch it because it's a group of kids doing fun things in space.
It's people like me on the screen, and that's what kids identify with.
Except not wearing a Star Wars. Mister.
And a beard.
You're right. They won't.
Just finish up with another observation. It makes sense from a business standpoint for Nickelodeon and for CBS to be pursuing a show like this, because there are a lot of other shows like this doing incredibly well on
100 and so forth.
The 100, you've got Marvel's Runaways, you've got Cloak and Dagger. I could go on and on all day.
Yeah.
The Sabrina's Chilling Adventures. These are all about, teenage kids. Riverdale. I mean, it's Riverdale in space.
It could be, yeah.
What it is, or it could be. But my point is that these ensemble casts are the kind of show that kids gravitate to right now, and so it has to appeal to them on those same levels. And the fact that it's Star Trek will only be incidental, and and it helps the whole franchise ultimately. But it's a good thing. But that's the reason why you're seeing a show like this being developed, because it makes sense for a show like this to be developed for that age group. And Star Trek needs young fans. That's just the reality.
Yeah, like with JJ, when they thought that would be the new thing, but it's gone even beyond that. It's been 10 years since then, so
didn't work. He's right.
Right,
it didn't work for a lot of reasons. I mean, most of them were economic, which is, first of all, the concept of Star Trek has never worked as well in feature films as it has.
I can't say that there's one season of any particular show that is worse than going to a movie called Star Trek. No, I'm serious.
I agree.
The seasons on TV are fantastic. They're well taken care of. They're well done. The movie deals are always rushed and terrible.
Yeah, they feel rushed.
That segues into what in a little while, what Shawn and I are going to talk about when it comes to Cobra Kai. Some things are best served as a series where you can take your time and really draw out development.
Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. Star Trek has always been a television series first, period. Mm-hmm. It always does best on television. Everyone that's ever been involved with Star Trek has said the same thing. I enjoy the one-off stories when they're done well with Star Trek in the films. But trying to turn Star Trek into a blockbuster franchise in the films was a bad idea. Making $200 million films was a bad idea. Yeah. You could have told good modern contemporary Star Trek stories with a much lower budget and managed expectations better at the box office and gotten exactly who you wanted to show up without doing that. Mind you, it's not that I hated the films, okay? Because I especially
I am not a hater.
I'm even like I'm the only person I think on the planet that likes Into Darkness, but I like the second and third ones especially. But I will say that it's like I get why they didn't become the money makers Paramount expected them to be. Now, as far as this animated series is concerned, I'm thrilled that they're taking this approach, and I'm thrilled that Kurtzman has the foresight to see how incredibly neglected the youth audience has been for Star Trek. This is going back 30 years that this has been a problem, that they've never appealed to youth. They've never targeted youth. Now, in the 80s and 90s, the franchise was so ubiquitous that kind of everybody was touched by Next Generation Trek. You had a massive toy line from Playmates that was out there.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's now we're in an era where it's only the adults collecting these things. Look, here's the thing. Star Trek needs to sell toys to kids. They can't depend on us, okay? They can't depend on for any kind of mass merchandising.
I don't know. There's a convention out in Las Vegas that's like $200 a ticket.
No, that's for a week, okay? But here's the thing, is that's very niche. And I will tell you this, the dealer's room for dealers gets smaller and smaller every year because the merchandise there's less and less of it. It's taken up more by corporations than it is private dealers. Okay, and I've been going since 03. So this is going to be what, my 16th in a row, 17th?
16 years.
So yeah, I mean, we just as much money as we spend, our generation cannot sustain this franchise from the merchandising standpoint. But
We're dying off.
But yeah, exactly. But the reality of it is, Star Trek needs a new audience, and they need to be exposed to youth. And I like how they're doing it underhandedly. By going, it's Ensemble Kids Action Adventure Show first, Star Trek second. I like how they're doing that. I think it's a great concept.
Mommy, we have to go out to the store and get the Star Trek aluminum Falcon.
Do you have any idea how much, honestly, how much Rebels crap that I have that like 80% of it is broken in the trash? I just basically set my money on fire with, because that's what, it's so true. Yeah, that's what happens with kids.
Anybody else have a?
They buy it, it breaks, and then you're done. On to the next.
So we know. Okay, so we know that this anime is one of many. So I mean, we don't know what it's going to look like yet. But anybody else have any thoughts before we move on as far as the?
Watch for it to be a mix of Asian and Western animation.
Like Star Wars Resistance. Anybody seen that? It's pretty cool.
Like what?
Star Wars Resistance.
Except Resistance is awful.
Yeah,
but I mean, I'm kind of.
The look is good though.
It's 3D with 2D mixed in. That's what I'm saying. It's like an anime.
I think that they're gonna mix the styles because that's the most appeal to the broadest audience.
Something like the Animatrix.
Yeah, they expect a 3D feel to it, even if it's not true 3D. They expect some dimension.
Right.
They're not going to put up with the kind of flat animation we grew up with.
Yeah, I would expect something more like the Animatrix out of this show.
I would expect something more like the Animaniacs, but what do I know? I never get.
No, that's what Lower Decks is probably going to be like, for all we know. You know.
Well, I want to.
I said fingerprints.
Wait. By the way, so are there two Nickelodeon ones?
No.
Okay, one's an adultish one, right? And
that's going to be a CBS All Access.
Okay, and then so this is the Nickelodeon exclusive.
Correct. And by the way, I wanted to point.
Are they making an Archer version of Star Trek?
No,
what's going on?
They're making a Rick and Morty version.
Yeah.
Is what they're making.
Okay.
That's on CBS All Access.
Yeah, they've got Rick and Morty.
Why did I point out well? I don't know.
They got Rick and Morty.
So it'll be a Star Trek I will not be interested in watching it.
Well, you never know. I mean, look, I'm a big fan of Rick and Morty, but I mean, you never know.
Again, not a fan of Rick and Morty, so.
But here's the thing. I mean, a lot of times people expected, for example, the Orville to be Family Guy in space, and it did not turn out that way. So, I mean,
You can have the same creator.
I mean, it is kind of Family Guy in space. Be honest.
Yeah, but you know what?
I am being honest.
It is Family Guy in space as much as you shit on it for being tacky and a ripoff of this.
All right, let me give you a quick example. We all hated the dude that did The Last Jedi, right?
Nope.
No, I don't hate him.
No, I don't hate him either. In general, the fans. But he had the reason they hired him was because he did some other good
things that a loud segment of the fans did not
like. As usual.
So what I'm trying to say is that you can have a guy that did one thing that fans loved, the other thing that fans hated. Doesn't mean that there's not a reason they see him being the right person. Like, look at the guy who does Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn.
But you can't hold the director of the Last Jedi responsible.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, like, the fans can say, I didn't like him for that, but he could do something else that was amazing.
Well, okay. Here's the thing, buddy. I will put this in perspective because this has come up a lot this week. This notion that Quentin Tarantino is going to make a Star Trek Pulp Fiction film, which of course would not happen.
No, he wouldn't work with Disney.
Death race. He'd make Death Race.
No, that's my point. My
They
point
came up
is
with
that
this.
like he said look, announcement came out today that he actually has a Trek script written, and this rumor's been going around for about a year, for a year now, that he wants to do a Trek movie.
No, they just
And-
updated
It's
that.
not a rumor. It is confirmed.
It's happening. He
No,
just-
I know that. I know.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. It is confirmed, and we were in talks before. He has a script written. He wants to make a Star Trek film, and there's a certain segment of the audience that is like, oh my God, no, it's going to be Pulp Fiction in space, and bad motherfucker, and all this kind of shit. And does he look like a bitch, Picard? No, it's not going to be like that. I mean, it's so
You're right.
ridiculous.
That's a good example.
to
That's actually a
think
good
that. I
example.
mean,
I like that.
It's look.
It's
Here's
going to be
the-
its own thing because
it's like, yeah, it's like I
he's a good writer.
said. You know what? It's like I said. You know what? Here's the thing. I don't think I ever want to see a Star Trek movie that's directed by an Academy Award-winning director. I don't think we deserve that.
But
No,
James
seriously,
Wan's
that's
Mission
what it comes
Beyond,
down to.
he
You
did
know, I mean,
Beyond, and that was
Oh,
great.
the self-loathing, Shawn.
well, that's what I mean. It's sarcasm, is what it is. Because why wouldn't Trek fans just look at the fact that Quentin Tarantino is a masterful filmmaker? I mean, for fuck's sake, did you see that Hateful Eight?
I mean, what you're talking about, Shawn, is literally like watching the entire comedy career of Jim Carrey and then going to the number 27 expecting it to be a comedy.
So, well, if you're going to bring in Sonic the Hedgehog, sure, we'll talk about
Are we
that.
going to talk about Sonic? the
No,
Hedgehog?
no.
No, we will.
Well,
That's
wait,
okay.
wait,
We're on the main
wait,
show.
that's
We'll talk
awful.
about that.
Guys,
That's
one more
awful.
thing. I want to make one more comment about the Nickelodeon show.
Okay.
I want to give again props to Kurtzman and the folks at CBS for having the foresight and the vision to be putting a Star Trek children's show in the hands of the absolute best network to do it.
Yeah,
okay?
Nickelodeon.
The
They
ones that
couldn't have-
actually care about children. Most
And
Absolutely.
children's programming,
Well,
without
besides
question.
yeah.
It's a perfect choice, and I'm glad to see that they decided to go that route.
All right, I agree with
P.S.
you.
Nickelodeon is owned by Viacom.
Okay.
Yeah,
Viacom, which is
and,
them, of course.
I agree. So I want to, yeah, we
And renewed talks just in these past couple of weeks of, again,
Another merger.
the merger between Viacom and
Mm-hmm.
CBS.
CBS.
I do want to point out though that y'all were talking about this being an ensemble cast kind of thing, and I go, I think just teens in general enjoy an ensemble cast. It's
That's
growing
why
up in the
Avengers hit it out.
growing up in the '90s, Nickelodeon in the evenings was all that, and that
Yeah.
was an ensemble
Did
cast.
you ever-
kind
did
of
you
a
ever
Mad
watch-
TV
Did
ripoff.
you ever watch Roundhouse on Nickelodeon?
or iCarly. It was a good show.
Oh, I loved iCarly.
Here too.
My girlfriend's daughter, when she was
P
little,
for me.
I grew up watching
Young
iCarly. with
lady.
her.
Rugrats, come on.
Really?
Let me be very frank.
But you're
Hi,
right.
Frank.
You know what? I will give you credit.
walked into that one.
Shawn is the most Hispanic person here because of his gesturing. And hands down. He was like this and like this. It was just great. It was wonderful.
I
It was
move
like
my
being
hand all the time.
My dogs actually got upset at that comment.
Oh my god! All right, so let's go on. Let's move on a little bit. So Shawn, I want to, for a little bit, sort of do a brief review of a show that is getting huge and it's about to go free, and we'll talk about that. Shawn, we've been wanting to talk about Cobra Kai,
Mhm. Yep.
and why don't you lead with this? Let's explain why Cobra Kai is such a great show. Before we even discuss the fact we're talking about season 2, why should people even look back and see Cobra Kai at all?
Well,
Carry on.
okay. Here's the thing. I went into this skeptically. I didn't even think the trailers looked that great. And this is when, right before it came out, I thought, oh God, this looks cheesy. And then I started watching it and I realized that it is one of those shows that is brilliant, not despite its cheesiness, but because of its cheesiness. It's genuinely a show that I think is probably the most self-aware show ever produced, because it knows exactly what it is and it knows exactly the audience it's catering to. It's really interesting because the whole concept of the show, as I was talking about earlier, it's about looking at the Karate Kid, the franchise, or really specifically the first movie, looking at it as an adult 30 years later,
Yep.
but looking at it from the perspective of Johnny. And what's interesting about this is that the producers have talked about this. What inspired them is that there's this 3.5-minute YouTube video out there that's called Daniel Was the Real Bully.
And I'll link it. Finally,
yeah, and please do, yeah. And it lays out a pretty
template.
Well, it's a pretty brilliant explanation or perspective. And mind you, some stuff is a little out of context. It's kind of funny about that. But when you look at it, I mean, and you look at it, it comes down to the notion that, you know, as far as Johnny's concerned, Johnny's the good guy here. You know what I mean? And that's often like that in you know, when you've got conflict between two different adversaries in any type of film, and the lines of who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, and it's so easy to draw, and especially when you're dealing with something that's not, you know, it's not a fantasy or a superhero show. You just got basically teenage kids, okay? Teenage kid. I mean, who's bad, who's good when you're a teenage kid? I mean, the movies may spell it out that way, but reality is something completely different. And this show takes place obviously 30 years later when they're both adults. They've both gone their separate ways.
Actually, Shawn, not to interrupt you, but the very first episode, after it shows the flashback, he wakes up drunk with beer cans all around him, and it says 30 years later in the very first episode.
Right, exactly. They make it very clear when this is set. And, you know, they've both taken different paths, where Daniel has gone on to become a very successful
used car
dealership owners, and he's sells a lot of exotic cars and things like that. He's married. He has a couple of kids, and they're very happy. Everything's wonderful. Whereas Johnny's gone completely the other way. Johnny can't hold a job. Johnny's got he's got an ex-wife and an estranged son. And the son isn't taken looked after by either one of them, and they're both a mess. But at the end of the day,
to learn karate.
Well, and spoiler, but not really, because this happens very early on in the first episode. I think he actually goes to Daniel to learn karate. So that's there's your big thing. But it's a process on this show that where we, like I said, I put hashtag Team Johnny everywhere, because I want to root for Johnny more, is what it comes down to, because Johnny's the underdog in this, and he's not a bad guy. You know, makes terrible decisions. You know, he
only discovers the internet in season 2, by the way.
Yeah, I want to point out, it's like he says and does a lot of ignorant things, but he just needs to be exposed to more people, as it were, if you know what I mean.
In his own crude way, yeah,
and he's got kind of a mentality of a teenager in a lot of it. But then again, you've got, and this is actually played out in this video, Daniel is a fucking hothead. And Daniel, it takes everything the wrong way, and he explodes out of nowhere a lot. But it's really a fun show. It's very self-aware about how it's just you know, an 80s type movie.
It's not just that
in a series form. Well, hold on just one moment. So, and it plays it very wonderfully. Even when it's bad, it's good. And I've really come to enjoy it. The only problem I will say that I've had with season 1 and season 2 is that season 2 kind of played out exactly like season 1 did, except for even the final episode. The final scene of the final episode was just so crazy that we're not going to talk about it, George.
We're not going to spoil it, right?
Right, exactly. But it did like
not
really
necessary.
It was really the same kind of arcs where things are going bad for Johnny, things go better for Johnny, and then Daniel and him, they make up a little bit, and then Daniel has a misunderstanding, Daniel loses his mind again, and they fight again, and things like back and forth, things like that. So but yeah, it's really a good show. I've been thoroughly enjoying it. It's very easy to watch too, because they're 30-minute episodes.
30 minutes. You can binge like 10 hours.
You could,
How many episodes in a season?
10 episodes.
10 episodes per season. So literally No, I'm sorry. 10 episodes, 10 episodes per season, 30 minutes each. So in, I guess, 5 hours, I must have told somebody. It's like in 5 hours, you could binge a season. 10 hours for both seasons. So here's the thing, my point of view. It's not necessary to spoil it. It's not just a nostalgia show. They use it, but it actually serves a purpose, like between what happened to these two characters and their rivalry. And it's not just about that. They're not just beating it over your head. Johnny, at certain points, Johnny's starting to, he becomes sort of like, it's like Game of Thrones, like certain characters that are starting to realize they could be better. They get held back by their own attempt to try to, and then things happen and the wrong timing, and then the other person thinks they're seeing certain points of view of what the other person's seeing, and it's not what they think. So Johnny's actually trying to do better, but there's interference. And then Daniel happens to come in, and he's got a judgment on his old rival, and even his wife is kind of like, give people a chance, but he's trying to go by the philosophy of what Mr. Miyagi taught him, and he's having to kind of relearn, kind of reteach himself. He's trying to become like Luke. In some ways, it's similar to Luke in The Last Jedi, but a little done better.
Well,
because he has a woman to kind of help him out, right? You know what I'm saying? Like if Luke had a wife, this would be where Daniel's at in this series. You know, I think that's I just came to that realization. Yeah,
and here's the thing about that is that when you bring up Mr. Miyagi,
would have been a better mentor.
He's trying to espouse a verse, but he keeps fucking it up. Is what he keeps doing.
And his wife,
he keeps espousing these vows of Miyagi, but not living up to them. It's the thing. Just kind of like what he did in part 3, which I had forgot was even a film, but because it was so bad. But
I heard that Hilary Swank might come back, but we'll see.
That's the next Karate Kid. That's part 3.
You're right.
Okay, so I really should not know this much about the Karate Kid franchise. Anyway, so
it's so cool.
But
anyways,
I mean,
the point is,
you're right. You're right about the nostalgia. It's not really about nostalgia. It's about it's almost looking at the eight. It's almost like looking at the 80s and through the lens of now. Okay. And poking fun of it. And
not just that. I'm going to say one thing because I was in the military. One of the things I took away from season 2 that when the Kreese came back, and this is not a spoiler. So the thing that's cool is that it becomes a rivalry between the philosophy of what they call Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai. So you got the aggressive side, like sort of like the equivalent of the dark side in Star Wars, and you got the lighter, more pacifist side, sort of like the Jedi.
Wait! Did they legitimately call it Miyagi-Do?
Yes.
What the hell?
No, Miyagi-Do.
Play-Doh, but
it makes sense in the show if you see it.
They Miyagi Dojo. They didn't call it Miyagi.
No, they call it Miyagi-Do in the second. Anyways,
I do not remember that at all.
You might. Well, no, it's Miyagi. Well. Either way, the philosophies are different. So the point I'm trying to make is that when you watch how Johnny is teaching, especially people like that kid Hawk. Remember that kid Hawk who had the lip? And he's trying to teach everybody, like, you know, he doesn't care about the PC situation. He's just like, look, are you going to be bullied? Are you going to allow yourself to be bullied? I don't care about this PC shit. And he's almost getting in trouble. But then the parents start to see how he's turning them around. And then when Hawk comes in after he got – this reminded me of the way the military – they break you down to rebuild you. That's the whole point of basic training if it was the Army or boot camp if it was the Marines. So what they do is they take a person and they break you down when you get there. And they rebuild you. And by the time you get out of there, you're a whole different person. I watched it, and as a former military person, I remembered, you never forget when you've been through that experience. It is exactly what Johnny doesn't even realize he's doing when he's opening up his dojo before Daniel starts coming in and going, oh my God, what's he doing? He's bringing back Cobra Kai. I'm having flashbacks. And then they actually do show flashbacks, literally from the show when the crane kicks and all that crap.
See, this is why I don't think I would ever enjoy this show.
No, wait, before you pipe up. Listen, I'm telling you, it's not as bad as it sounds. They use it very, very well. Okay? And what they do is they ascribe it to the point of, like, these kids come in and they're looking at it from Johnny's point of view, like he's trying to build up their confidence, but he learned from Kreese. So he's like, from his point of view, it's like you do things the hardcore way. Life sucks, and somebody talk to Shawn, so he can come back in. But he's trying to retrain everybody. He's trying to tell everybody, you know what? Hang on a second, because I can always edit this out. There he is. So Shawn, let me just go back a couple of seconds. So the point of view I gave was that from the military point of view, the reason I identified.
Yeah, but I did hear that. I heard all that.
So you build people up after you break them down. So when Hawk, best example is the character of Hawk. He comes in. He was originally like a kid with the lip, had a problem, and he was an asshole to him.
Yeah, right. I was there also.
Okay, so by the end of the season 1, you're thinking. At first, you're like, "Oh, what an asshole!" Right? And Johnny's like just reiterating this bullshit, but you start to see his point of view, and then
you're right, exactly.
But by season two, they are competing those philosophies. When Daniel decides he wants to compete,
there's a big factor in this. Okay, first and foremost, Johnny brings throughout this first season, he presents a watered down version of Priest's Cobra Kai.
Right.
It's not the same by the end because he starts feeling for these kids and having sympathy for them.
Plus his son.
So it's not just his. It really has nothing to do with his son.
Robbie has a lot to do with it.
That has nothing to do with it until the very end of the season.
Right? Yeah.
It has nothing to do with it.
I agree.
He basically gets a surrogate son is what happens, and he starts having feelings for that kid.
Miguel.
Yes, Miguel, and they start having, and he starts looking at this from a different perspective because of how he was abused by Kreese and others too.
Yep.
So he's looking at this from a different perspective, and although he still he sees value in what he's doing, he wants to soften it. What changes in season 2 is when Kreese comes back. And of course,
this is where we're getting into where people should just watch it because we could we're accidentally going to spoilers if we keep going.
Right, exactly.
Because I'm telling you, because Shawn and I could talk about this. Guys, Cobra Kai is about to become free, okay?
Not until the fall, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. But if you actually subscribe for a few bucks,
month for free.
You can. I'm telling you guys, for anyone watching,
you get a free month. You get a free month.
You get a free month. You can easily binge all of them. And here's why: it's only 30 minutes per episode. 10 hours, you can split it up, and you can watch both seasons.
Yeah, and the thing about them being bingeable episodes is that you just kind of want to keep eating them like potato chips. You really do. You just want to consume them. Yep. It's a lot of fun. But but when everybody's watched it, we'll get back together.
Yes.
And we can discuss more, especially the season 2 finale. So I'm done, bud. I'm done with that.
All right. So let's I don't want to go too long. We've gone a long ways. I want to give Raul an opportunity because I told him I would to talk about a game. Raul, go ahead.
Okay, so Mordhau is spelled Mordhau, and what it stands for is when you reverse the sword in your hands and use it kind of like a mace or a blunt instrument. It's meant to penetrate heavier armor. Okay. And this is really the theme of the game. It is a combat game. It is made by only 10 people worldwide working together. And it is released with some problems, but the problems are almost all fixed at the moment. And they responded very quickly and without sleeping. So this is I want to talk about this company for a little bit. It's called Triterion. I may be saying it wrong. However, Mordhau is definitely worth everybody taking a look at. If you have played something like Chivalry or War of the Roses or so other medieval combat games, this is very similar.
Oh, this sounds similar again, yeah.
But this is a very polished, excellent product where there is nothing. There's no pay to win. There's no DLC. You get one-stop shop, basically. One price pays it all. And then you earn stuff in-game to upgrade your character's looks in
cosmetics
and items to use.
Sounds good.
Cool.
And it is It is a massive combat game. So you can play up to 64 players in one server.
Is it new or is it?
It's brand new. It just came out the 29th of last month.
I wasn't sure if you discovered it recently or if it has been around for a while.
It's been in development for about 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Thank you, Carlos. That's cool.
That is awesome.
You're welcome.
Wow. That's a cool cover. I like that armor.
It's magic. I like this.
I like it.
Yeah, it's an excellent game. The company's very responsive. They're acting like a AAA company, and there are 10 people just working together.
Great.
I can only recommend this game if you like any sort of combat system in an RPG or an action game. But it's even better. It's all medieval war.
George, I did it again. Raul, holy shit! I called it.
Oh my god!
At least
Shawn, if we lose you, what's our standard?
Oh, hold on, I need the no button.
This is my last word. No.
There we go. I need the no button that time. Oh my god!
I don't even know what to click to get out of this.
Just tap the corner, buddy. Tap the corner where you see the video. Do you see video?
Yeah, I do, obviously.
Okay, so tap that to get out of the off the picture.
Well,
okay, so I was
I'm
going to
not-
ask you, what? You're
never mind, I'm back.
Okay, good. Raul, so where is this available on Steam?
This is available on Steam. It is retailing for less than $30.
Okay, so it's not available on console. It's only available for PC?
I believe it's also released on console in certain formats. I'm not sure which one. I believe somebody has the exclusive contract, but
Awesome.
I'm not. I have to find out.
I'm gonna bet it's probably, if it's considering it's a PC game, it's probably gonna be found on Xbox.
We'll follow up on it. Sounds like
we'll follow. Next
definitely
show,
follow.
I will report back on you.
Let's do that. People have been asking us to talk a little bit of gaming, so we'll add that to our agenda. So that's cool.
Absolutely, I would love to talk gaming.
Oh yeah, I've always been open to that. So that's cool.
Oh my God. Okay. The conversation just my brain.
Her brain. Here we go.
You mentioned it, and I got, oh, now we have the game agenda.
Not agenda. We're just gonna add it as a topic. We're already talking about.
See, Shawn gets it. Shawn gets it, but
we're
let's just move on.
You might want to let the rest of the class in on it, but whatever.
The gay agenda, the game agenda.
Okay.
It's actually more insidious.
The game agenda. No, like I said, my brain. Holy shit!
You said it.
Did you see Carlos's face? Like you did not just.
I think Carlos has had a Kermit the Frog face going on the whole night.
Carlos is blushing. It's a little bit of blushing.
He's had the most default.
It's the applesauce.
No, you know what it is? Carlos has had like
lighting.
If somebody had a hand up, he's a Muppet. He's like,
gross.
Whoa!
Come on.
Whoa! I know I made that. Look, I know I made a gay joke, but that's just going too far.
No.
My hands are not fudgy.
Thank you.
No.
Shawn.
No means no.
That means no.
No.
I think we're gonna have to send it to him.
One more time. No, I'm just kidding.
But,
all right.
By the way, the game is available only on PC right now.
Times no.
But they are working on a port.
Probably.
One issue that came up with a lot of gamers is that there is no females because it represents basically it's not beholden to historical combat, but it's based on historical combat.
Yeah.
However, many women have made the argument that many women fought in these wars as well.
They did. There's a lot of historical misinformation out there, but anyways, I agree with you. It's true.
But the developers are working on are working on a female avatars for the
Here we
game.
go. Here we go, people. You're watching this exclusively as it eats up the gigabytes of.
Whoa!
Keep in mind, this eats up the total. No.
Oh, I didn't know you could do this with Zoom. This is cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. But keep in mind, this does.
It's a little choppy, but it's cool.
Yeah, keep in mind that like I can only handle so much on the recording because I freed up.
Yeah, this is fine. We can go back to our faces, our lovely faces.
Dude, does this game actually look like this?
It does look like this. This is in-game video.
Wow.
It reminds me of Mountain Shield. That was a cool game.
Mountain Blade.
The Mountain
Shield was
Mountain
awesome.
Blade. No, Mountain Blade.
Because you could like as you swing, as you move the
Yes.
it's like you're moving sword.
Mountain Blade is about to come out with its own next generation called Bannerlord, which is very
I
anticipated.
played the original Mountain Blade, and I remember
It's incredible.
I always remember that like what was awesome about it is like if you the way you move your mouse, it was literally like you were like actually holding a sword in real time, and you were doing whatever. It was awesome.
What I liked about Mountain Blade, to be honest with everyone, is that it combined action with RPG elements, which cannot go wrong.
Yeah.
That is the formula for success modern day gaming. That's why all of the Star Wars games now are being developed in that style. We talked about that a little bit on the There Will Only Be Two.
Because I want to make this episode available to certain syndicators such as Says Space Radio, I do want to sort of wrap it up. So let's wrap it up because we did cover a lot of subjects. And
we did.
Yeah, so let's wrap this up. Carlos,
I got to use my no button.
You got to use your no button a lot. Yeah, you did.
It's very effective.
What I like about Zoom is it offers me a audio file and a video file, so I can take one and just edit it and whatever. Carlos, where can people find you if you want them to find you on social media?
I am at C. Pedraza on Twitter and at Aximonitor on Twitter. On Facebook at the Aximonitor Facebook page and the Aximonitor discussion group. And where else am I? Oh, of course, on the web, my website, aximonitor.com.
Sweet. Raul, what about you?
I am on Facebook. You can just friend me directly. My name is Raul Padron. I live in Arizona, and my picture is a picture of Peter Baelish's little mockingbird symbol that
Except
he wore
for the
on
video version where you're seeing what you get, which is
that's right, which is not the best image. I understand.
I mean, I would date you if I was into that.
Oh my!
And I was single.
Not even if you were single, really. I'm that's seductive.
You would convert me. Not even you would convert me.
No.
I would fly out to Arizona.
No.
Just cut him off.
Anyways, yeah, Shawn. Speaking
Very
of you,
proud of yourself with your button.
That was the best $3 investment ever.
Shawn got the best usage out of his $5 for that no button.
Oh my God!
This is the Valerian steel of this show.
He drops it.
He went to Walmart and he said, "I've got to get this for the podcast."
Actually, you now here's the thing, Carlos. You know my kids. I'm sure Carlos understands. This came from my kids, of course.
Oh, okay.
Of course. Well, your kids are brilliant, so.
They
Yeah,
are
so-
brilliant. Yes,
Comic geniuses, all of them.
Absolutely.
And where can people find you, Mr. Shawn?
I will be, of course, at the Aximonitor Facebook group. I am also available at the Real Super Geeks group, as well as Carlos, who always forgets every week to mention it. I will be, hopefully, I am lobbying to co-produce Interlude, which is the Jonathan Lane Star Trek Axonar fan film. I'm hoping he's going to let me on board because there's nothing that says
Why would you
Axonar
refuse
like
your help?
Well, right, exactly. There's nothing that says
One
Star
can
Trek
only
Axonar.
dream.
Well, look. Here's the thing. There's nothing that says Star Trek Axonar like
A
me
porn parody.
Like you.
and lube. Exactly. Oh, it's Interlude. I'm sorry. It's not Interlude.
Not
Oh,
into
I'm so
Just a wish.
confused.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, this sounds like a porn parody.
Yeah, it really does.
I
I have a good idea.
I
for
flip
the
letters
your lane.
sometimes. Yeah,
Stay
I flip-
in your lane.
yeah, exactly.
Son, where can people find you?
Hey, you guys, are you looking for a chat with all of us in the same place? Well, you can find us all on Facebook at The Real Super Geeks.
Yes, right.
And free cams and Chatterbait. Oh wait, a minute. No, sorry, something completely different.
And
I'm
on
so-
Tinder, if you follow Raul. No, I'm just kidding.
You'll get in trouble for being on Live Cam Girls.
We did just change YouTube groups. It's been linked, but we went from TR Super Geeks. Well, you can still find us on both. It's okay to have more than one channel, I found out. The Real Super Geeks or TR Super Geeks. And you can find us on Twitter at geeks_tr. And we're up at some point. I'm going to get an Instagram going because I heard that's pretty popular, or as they call as the kids call these days, Insta, whatever. But
They do.
Yeah,
My daughter's in the background going, no one calls it that.
really, really, because I keep hearing that.
Literally no one.
No, I'm serious. I keep
Old
hearing that
man.
from 12-year-olds, and
Are we going to have a Snapchat too?
they call it Insta apparently. How old's your daughter?
12.
And she's 12. And they don't call it Insta. That's
I'm just telling you, George. Anything that you and I
Guys,
think they
Gone
call it, they
totally
don't call it.
grumpy old
Okay.
They
man.
have a remote
I
control.
keep hearing it from birdies. You know.
They have a box that cooks your meals.
Says,
I
I like my potatoes like that.
That's right.
And
I like going to the Golden Corral in the morning.
and you can find us on Subspace Radio,
So-
Syndicator Bars.
Back in my day, Twitter was us writing with pen and paper.
Say twatter.
Twitter.
I think
That's
we're
all.
a little bit.
Son,
No.
Yes, son, no, please.
Anyways,
I can't laugh.
That was the whole point. That was literally the whole point. An old geezer mispronouncing
it sounds so much better in voice than it does in. Anyways, so you can also find us on Subspace Radio at subspace-radio.net. I don't think they have a twat, but they have a Tribble, and you can find that AI.
And no. No means no.
Raul was with me once on the IRC and Subspace
We
Radio.
had fun. We had fun.
We had fun. They have an AI called Tribble, and you can ask it questions. Like you can say, Tribble, do you like to water my hose? And he'll go, only on Sundays or something like that. You know, it's funny.
Wait, whoa, okay, no, okay, yeah, moving on.
Whoa. What is he saying?
yeah,
I don't want to.
the
Yeah.
old geezers. Yeah.
I don't want to water anyone's hose.
It's just
Okay.
an example. I once asked him, Twitter, do you smoke pot? And he went, only on Thursdays or something like that. And it's a very interactive AI. Anyways, the point is that
It sounds like a magic 8-ball.
I mean,
Pretty much,
it
yeah.
is pretty much like a Magic 8-Ball. You're right.
Except no magic. No
But,
magic.
but the thing is, my daughter. It's like, here's the thing: when you got a 12-year-old daughter, it doesn't matter how right you are about something that's
No,
to
it's
her,
funny.
she's gonna tell you you're wrong. It doesn't matter.
It's true. All right, you guys. I want to thank you for joining us. We had an interesting episode, and you can, for people that do follow Game of Thrones, in 2 days we'll be doing our Game of Thrones reaction show for episode 4 until the season's almost over. But until then, it's going to be a wild ride. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. What's that?
Cool.
Oh yeah, show the people at home, Raul.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
A McFarlane.
Oh, yeah. Here we
A
go.
McFarlane Night King. Beautiful.
Bring him with you on Sunday.
You know,
That's
I read this interesting
creepy
article
detail.
on the web today called "Why Are So Many People Thirsty for the Night King?"
I know, huh?
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, I saw this a couple of days ago on YouTube, and I went, "Oh, holy crap!" Well, I know that battle just happened, so it's late. There's this music video that was posted a month ago called Seven Kingdom Army. It's a parody of Seven Nation Army.
Send it. Send it.
Okay,
Definitely.
yeah. Also, for those of you who are interested in funny recap reviews, YouTube.com, look up Trey Crowder. He does a review show called Goddamn.
Oh.
because his whole thing is he's the liberal redneck, and it's
Oh, I know who you're
comedy
talking
bit.
about. Yeah, no, he's funny. I seen your videos.
Nice.
That guy's funny. He puts on a wig from Jon Snow and a fur coat.
And a fur coat, yeah.
He talks like a southerner, like
I should wear one of those.
going to
Well,
the
he
next
is a
episode.
southerner. That's the whole point.
He
Yeah.
talks like a southerner.
He does.
He is a
It's
southerner.
funny, actually. It's really funny. All right, you guys. I want to thank everyone for joining us for Super Geeks. Undisclosed episode number and name, just whatever episode this is. And Son will join you the next
It'll
time.
be in the notes below.
It'll be in the notes somewhere. If you're still
I
listening.
think it should be called gripping four tits.
Great.
Lifting them.
Lifting them.
Oh,
That's
I
right.
would keep recording just to embarrass people later. But anyways, we'll talk to
Okay.
you the next
I
time.
mean, I did have to one up the cat ladies, right?
You did. You did.
You did.
On that
Sure
one.
did.
Everyone's nipples are intact, and we'll talk to you the next time.